Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am getting ready to use this month's Cards, Tags, and More kit from Jolie Kits to build this pumpkin album. The album is a Jolie chipboard product. There are some flowers, a couple of little metal charms, the Autumn Moods paper pack from Craft O'Clock, and the 6x12 stack of cut-apart sheets. Alright, first things first, to get ready, I am just going to do all the cut-aparts all at once so that they are ready to be used. And then I'm going to start cutting out the pieces of the pattern paper that I want to use on my front cover, inside, and all of the pages. It's real easy to do. You can just trace around the chipboard so that you can have a line to follow, and your pattern paper will fit on those chipboard pages. And there are all of my pieces. I have them layered how I want to put them together, but nothing is glued in place yet. On a couple of the pages, I added a slot on the piece that's going on the chipboard, and I cut a pumpkin shaped piece to use as a flap, just leaving off where the leaves and the stem come out the top. So it'll be a little flap with a little hinge that goes in the slot I made, and then it can just be put together. To prepare my chipboard before I glued all my papers on, I used some marigold stencil butter that had been in the June mixed media kit, and then I grabbed up some of my holiday distress crayons. The holiday crayons are the ones that have the shimmer to them. They're the mica crayons, and I just picked colors from the 2021 sets, and I think there's one, maybe two, that are from the Halloween 2022 sets in there. And I just added them on and then used my Prima water brush to blend them and spread them around. I didn't distress the edges of all of my pages. I just did the front and the back cover. And then for the front cover, I used my diamond glaze to adhere the paper to the front cover. And that was just because it dries clear, and I knew that I would be using some diamond glaze later on when I decorated the front. I have almost all of my paper glued to the chipboard now, and I'm just going to kind of talk about the little extra details. I did add some pattern paper to the leaves and the vines on that front cover, and then on this front cover, I used some 3D gel to go around the edges of my eyelet. It was a little off. It was a little off one edge, so it was kind of sharp. So I trimmed it down and then just softened it up and added a little texture to the front. And then for my little flaps, I just used my scoreboard so that I could make that bend easier. I lined my flap up on the paper it would be going on so that I could just lightly mark where the corners were, and then used a metal ruler and my craft knife to cut my slot. And then just tucked it in, folded it over, and glued it down. And with that, all of my pages are mostly put together. I have all of the paper glued down where I want it. Now it's just a matter of getting the little parts that are going to be going inside ready. And since those tags came from the cut apart sheet from the paper pack, I am just backing them with some pattern paper since they will be getting pulled in and out. Alright, I decided I wanted to reinforce the hinges on my flap pieces, so I am just making some aged tape, and it's just regular gift wrapping tape. I have some glossy, transparent, and then I have this not quite so transparent matte finish tape. and I am just going to lay them out in strips across some parchment paper, and then give them some color with some alcohol ink. Now, for my tape in this particular album, I used colors that coordinated more with the papers so that my tapes were more autumn colored. If you wanted something that was more vintage aged, more authentic looking, then I found that the caramel alcohol ink works really good, and the ginger shades of brown like that make real good just regular brown vintage tapes. I just wanted these to go along more with the autumn theme of the whole album. On the little pockets that I do add in, I do just distress the tops, and that's really more to just kind of disguise any unevenness from the cutting. And I only fold up the sides, even though it is made that it can be folded up at the bottom. Since they're so small, I just do the sides and then just add a layer of glue and put my pockets in place. And since the alcohol ink wasn't on there heavy, it doesn't take long to dry, and I just peel up my pieces of tape and start adding them on the inside and the outside of my little flaps. When I use my bone folder to help push that tape down, I do it very gently, because even though alcohol ink is a relatively permanent ink, it is right there on the surface of that tape, and if you push too hard, you can leave like scratch marks in it and kind of scrape it up, especially since it hasn't been sitting there all that long. It was just dry enough to start handling. And that's all there was to it. I trimmed off the excess and made sure it was pushed down. I added a little thin layer of glue, especially with my matte tape, because those were kind of older rolls of tape. Since I was going to be leaving my envelopes open, I decided to add some of my aged tape to the hinging areas of the envelope and to the edges, just to give them a little reinforcement on the edges. Alright, and with that, everything is glued into place, and now I'm just going to start decorating my cover. I am just using some microglaze to protect the paper underneath, and just using a small brush to make sure that it gets in there in between all of those swirls. I don't want to add the purple everywhere, so I am just using that just to give it a little bit of protection. That way, when I come in with those distress crayons, I can just keep it to the areas where I had that 3D gel and just a few extra highlights on the pumpkin. And both of these distress crayons that are in the purples, those are also the holiday sets, or from the holiday sets with the little bit of shimmer in them. And I only add the bit of extra green to the front cover inside because I did have that 3D gel, and because, well, it is the cover piece, so it has a little bit more of the extra decoration going on for it. And now, just to add a few extra touches, I use the Judykins Diamond Glaze. It dries very clear and quickly, and I use it to hold in some glass beads from Rene Bouquets. Those are the larger ones that are the slightly lighter purple, and then just some unbranded, I don't know where they came from, dark purple beads to go in with those larger glass beads. And then I just used that Judykins Diamond Glaze just to fill in on the vine and the leaves. While my cover piece is drying, while that Judykins Diamond Glaze is setting up, I am just going through using the pieces from the cut apart sheets to make some tuck-in spots and add some decoration. And to soften the white edges of those pieces, I just use one of the lighter distress crayons. I turn this longer tag into a belly band. I just fold up the top and the bottom of that tag and use it to make a belly band. And then for this little label, I just sort of make some faux brads using that Judykins diamond glaze and a couple of those smaller beads. I wanted to add a little bit of extra color to the back cover, so I get the microglaze out, add some areas of protection to the paper, and then come in and just add a little bit of those 2 purple distress crayons. Alright, almost everything is done. I just decided to use some micro beads, some glass micro beads from Renee Bouquets, just to sprinkle on really very lightly on the cover. So I brush on some diamond glaze and then just add my little sprinkling. I just have to remember to work fast since that diamond glaze does dry quickly. I don't want it to dry before I get my beads on, and I don't want it to dry in the bristles of my brush. All of my pages are together now, and I am just going to add some fine jute twine to one of those little charms from the kit and then tie it on to the book ring that I used to hold all of the pages together. And that's all there is to it. My album is done. I have that same fine jute on the tags that I slipped in. I have my tuck-in spots all ready. And now the only thing to add are any pictures or memorabilia that you want put in. I hope you enjoyed this little pumpkin mini album, and it gave you some ideas of what you can do with this month's cards, tags, and more kit. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up and feel free to share this video. Thank you, and I will see you again next week.